Hello, welcome everyone. We are here starting a new section in our YouTube channel, Pensar Plural. And this section is named Thinking Books. And of course, we are going to review books in about 15 or 20 minutes with usually our special guest, whose name is, as you can see on the screen, Oscar Magno, Oscar the Great. Welcome,
Yeah,
Oscar. Thanks for being here with us.
thanks, Ruben. It's a pleasure.
Well, maybe you don't know him, probably you don't know him, but he's a philosopher, a thinker, and he's trying to think out of the box. He's trying to think beyond. Isn't that the case, Oscar? Exploring things, ideas.
Yeah, definitely. It's like every philosopher should do. But let me let me get to the point and let's talk, if you will, if you want, about this book. The name
Sure,
is
sure.
is Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to by David Sinclair, and I think it's a nice book. Firstly, I start to listen the book because I listen the book. I didn't read it. I listened the audiobook, and well, I at last I struck a couple of nice ideas. The core message is that aging is a disease, is not an inevitable part of life, and this is can sound strange and provocative for some people. And Sinclair says that he curiously uh, have received a lot of critics saying that well, this is not natural, and he shouldn't be pursuing this idea because it's not natural. And he says, well, what is natural? After all, we are flying on planes and we are doing a lot of things that are not natural, in the sense that are an invention from a couple of years or decades ago. I don't know what you think on this.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, and I think he's right about that. I mean, I had some conversation the other day about veganism, and one of the guys who was talking to me about it, he said veganism is not a good well, it's not a good set of ideas because they want to use artificial things. And I thought, okay, you are telling me that, but you are eating Kit Kats, chips, and your food is covered with plastic. You go to the supermarket, you use cardboard, you use plastic, you use pills, you are smoking, etc. So it's like, well, yeah, you want natural things, but what is natural at the end? That's true. It's like, and it's a, I think, well, I think I understand that talking about aging as a disease is something that is really controversial because we see it as a natural part of life, and I think it is a natural part of life. But I think he's not telling us that it's not a part of our life. He's telling us that we can lower the the process instead of being devastated and looking like shit, forgive me, at the age of 70. We can do that at the age of 140, for example.
Yeah.
And of course, for example, a cancer is natural as well.
Hmm.
um, a cold, for example, the cold, or a fever, or coronavirus, all of them are natural. They are natural, but we are
Yeah,
trying to avoid getting them. So why do we think about aging as something that we cannot escape from?
yeah. His point is something that I already thought sometimes. It is what is not natural. I mean, if you maintain a physicalist point of view, I am a physicalist. Everything is natural. The only the magic or metaphysical things are not natural. Everything is natural because it is operating as a natural phenomenon. So he's saying that this is a natural thing, is perhaps an invention, a design of humans, but we are also part of nature. So after all, is
Yeah,
that thing.
sure. The plastic we use, we get it from the oil.
Yeah, polymers are called polymers. It's a
Yeah,
special kind of chemical structure.
that's a difference we had made like a long time ago, centuries or even thousands of years ago, and we're still thinking about the reality in that terms. I think in with Christianity it got very strong. Like this is natural, this is not natural. And why is it natural? Because God says so, right? But now I think we are in the proper time and space to think from a different perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, but just getting to the point from the book. Uh, okay, you mentioned that the main idea is that he doesn't want to age and he wants to try to cure us from aging.
Hmm.
All right. So,
Yeah.
what are the methods to solve that situation? How can we escape aging?
Yeah. The guy goes seriously. He's serious. He's a big scientist,
And
and
he looks quite young, by the way.
yeah, he's young. Made the sport, and it looks young. He also applies his theory to himself. But there are a lot of interesting ideas in the book, and he gives practical tips like the conventional do sports, eat well, sleep well, and all these things. But in addition, there are a couple of things that are especially important, I think. And one core idea that surrounds the book that is perhaps this could be one of his major contributions to, let's say, the theory of aging and reverse of aging, which is what he calls the information theory of aging, which is because it seems simple, but it's not. Why is aging happens? First is what is life. That's difficult. The question of what is life, but then why aging? Why we age? And it seems like it's something a natural phenomenon that happens in every single species, but it's not. It's almost in every species. There are jellyfish that don't age because of reverse and strange things, but aging seems to be a kind of universal thing. And he came about with an information theory of aging, which is more or less the next. Aging is caused by the accumulation of damage to our genetic information over time. So you know that with the discovery of DNA and epigenetics and all these cutting edge fields, all these things operate like a kind of software in the species that reproduce the features that made us humans. And so what he says is more or less that things like free radicals, inflammation, toxins, and so on, this can have a negative impact on the things that allow the body naturally repairs themselves. Because when you are young, the body repairs. For example, you damage your tissue, and the tissue recovers. You damage your bones, and the bones recover. But as we age, these things go badly, go worse. Is more difficult to recover. And so he's saying that this can be for a loss of information on how the instructions in this especially this kind of body software to make the copies. And so the body start to copy worse and worse the things. And so this can be a huge factor in why we age, because the body cannot stop knowing how to repair well the body.
Yeah, that sounds interesting and it sounds reasonable, sensible. I when you were talking about young people, I mean, I had in mind like from my generation and from the time I have lived in, some of the people that at the young age they live like they are going to die tomorrow, and they eat a lot of junk food, they drink a lot, they smoke a lot, they don't sleep well, they do things that are not healthy at all. And I thought, all right, if we had done that in a different way, like taking care of ourselves, what would happen? It could have been very different. For example, if you are taking drugs since you are 14 years old, eating shit and drinking alcohol almost every day and getting a hangover on Friday and Saturday, how can you change that? I mean, if you don't do that since a very, very early age, you are going to be aging probably in an older age, or not. I think it could be related to that.
Yeah, he also is very liberal with these things. His message is, this is what I want and what a lot of people will want, but the one who want to age and not to consume these biomedical products and so on, he's free to age and to die. So like the song says, live or let die. No, what is the song of Guns N'
I
Roses?
don't know.
Live and let die.
All right. But it is true, and when, well, I listened to the podcast which he has with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
They spend like 2 hours and a half talking about this stuff, and they mentioned that we are seeing diseases like Alzheimer and all of these kind of diseases like normal things, and we see like people in their last days struggling to walk and to do different things. We see that as a normal thing. But when I see a person with Alzheimer or dementia or something like that, I think to myself, well, does it have to be like that? It cannot be otherwise. I mean, it's like 100% necessary to end up living like that.
Yeah. No, after all, he's saying, I think his position on this is that people, when talk that something is normal or not normal, natural or not natural, after all, it's a question of years and experience. If people experience that it happens from time immemorial, he's going to say that it's natural, and the other way around. But he don't care very much about this. But it's something interesting, because you could say, well, everybody's going to agree with this guy. After all, he's saying that we can live not forever, but we can increase our lifespan and so on. But no, he says that there are lobbies. For example, he talked about, in one point of the book, lobbies who goes to the Congress in the US, I think, and complain about, for example, the increase of the lifespan could be bad for marriage and for the Christian values and something like this. And he says, well, this not makes very much sense, because I'm married and I could increase my marriage. I want to live even more years with my wife because I love her and so on. Not make sense to say that this is bad for marriage or Christian values.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. That's true. And well, I mean, I think there could be some interests from nursing homes, for example, or the pharmacists, or, well, not the pharmacists, the drug industry, because they are creating and manufacturing and making drugs used to heal or cure some diseases that are connected to aging. But if we stop the process and we stop having that kind of diseases by prevention, instead of facing that when they are developing, they're going to lose a lot of money. So I think they could be worried about it. But he also mentioned in this podcast that aging is a very big economical issue, because it costs a lot of money to all of the governments.
Yeah.
and it's going to be a very big problem in future, maybe in 20 years or 25, because the population in Europe and the USA, most of the population in Europe and the USA are going to be older than 60 or 65, and they are going to want to be retired, and somebody has to pay the bills and has to pay the pension they have. And he mentioned that he said, well, if we can live well 200 years, this is useful and this is better for our economical system because we can work for a longer period of time.
Yeah. Yeah, this lead us to the perhaps to the final section, which is about the ethical implications. And he talked about a couple of things, because the first part of the book is mostly about scientific facts and his research and all these things. And I can comprise that in 20 minutes nor 30. You have to read or listen to the book. And then has a, let's say, I don't know, 10% or 15% of the book. The last part of the book is about the ethical implications, and he care a lot about this, and he give it very much importance, because you cannot sever the increase of the lifespan and how we maintain the system, the state, and so on. And he cares especially about the how we administer these things, how we make to everybody can access the new discoveries and so on, not just the rich. And there are a lot of films who talk about several dystopias that could happen with this. The rich increasing the lifespan to hundreds of years, and the others die like the, I don't know, 50, 60, and so on.
There is one title, Numbers, I think it is.
And then he talked about, especially about this thing of how we can maintain this sustainably. And he even in the book talk about his one of his sons critiques him and saying, like, we are destroying the world right now, and you want to increase the lifespan of a lot of the people of the planet to live even more. We will destroy this world. And well, he's an optimist guy. So he say one of his core message at the end of the book is that to maintain this sustainably, we have to change our mindset. This is not going to be the case that you can consume a lot of resources of the world and live 1,000 years. It's not going to work like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah, it has to be. It needs to be. Well, it needs to go together with a different set of values. That's true. We need to see life in a different way, from a different perspective. So it's going to be a long process. I think that. All right. And the last thing I wanted to ask you about is about food. What kind of food does this guy recommend eating, and in which way? For example, once a day, twice a day, 5 times a day? How?
Yeah, in consideration with the food, he recommends, he don't have a strong position on this because he's not a practitioner. So he wants to avoid to appear like a doctor specialized giving recipes or something. But he gives suggestions like people with knowledge can give. So he recommends. I don't remember exactly the concept. It was something like fast fooding.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
fasting.
yeah,
Yeah,
fast,
that's yeah,
which is
fast.
eat with you you avoid eating from time to time, basically. So he's recommending basically to be more frugal, more moderate with the food, reduce the meat, and reduce the calories. He talked about one of the key things you want to make to reduce your aging, and is one of the big discoveries with the aging science, is that reduce the number of calories is one of the best things you can make. So reduce the food you eat and reduce the calories you eat.
But yeah, but even reducing the calories you eat, your daily intake, you need to eat maybe about 2,000 calories a day, something like that. I mean, you need to eat enough. It's not like, okay, I have been eating 4,000 calories a day, and now that I'm following Mr. Sinclair's advice, I'm going to eat 1,000 calories because you're going to die of starve.
Yeah,
But yeah, yes, go ahead.
yeah. No, this have to be in circumstance with your context. You have to, if you let's say waste more, if you do more exercise, or if you train more, if you study more, you have to consume a little more. But the idea is the same: is to be try to be more frugal, more moderate with the food.
Yeah. And the last thing, sorry. He said something like, it's not what you eat, it is how you eat. Because he is, well, yeah, he is like in favor of eating like once or twice a day. I think once a day.
Yeah,
Because he said something like, if you are eating 5 times a day, your organism is like getting tired and you're aging quicker.
yeah. This topic of the food is not something that is very much covered in the book, because in the book he talks more about the science and so on, and he tried to avoid to give prescriptions. But yeah, in general, the reduction of the calories is one thing. And in the book, he, for example, he referenced one guy in who lived in Venice, and he wrote a book. The book was called La Vita Sobria, the sober life, something like that. And the guy was this kind of guy who has a very troublesome, is very impulsive with, and he pursue pleasures like hell, going with woman, drinking a lot. But then he changed, he flipped, and to the Vita Sobria, to the sober life. And he's known for live about 100 years or something in the 18th century Venice. So he's an example of a long lifespan in a time where people used to live, I don't know, 40 years, 50 years, as much. And well, the title is self-described. The guy recommends to be more sober in everything, with the food and with the alcohol and all these things. In general, try to avoid the excess, and is what Sinclair is trying to transmit as well.
Well, that's great. I don't know if you want to add something else to end up.
No, I think we cover very much of the book, and I would say that I recommend the book. I'm not very a guy that was very interested in these kind of topics on health and fitness and so on. I train every day and so on, but I was very much outside of these things. But I enjoy the book. I think it's thoughtful and is thought provoking and is worthwhile.
Yeah, for me, it looks like a person who is talking about something he knows about in a very humble and reasonable way, like trying to give advices and trying to make us think in a different way to expand our horizons, but not telling us this is like this. No, it's like, okay, I made some research and I think, well, we should do things in a different way. All right. Thanks, Oscar, for being with us. And we hope you will be with us next time.
A pleasure, for sure.